Hey friends, today we're going to be canning up some beans. We're doing it sort of like the 1870s homestead. If you don't know their channel, check them out. Where we're basically putting beans and water in jars and pressure canning them. But there's a couple extra things I'm doing today, and I'll take you through it. I'm going to be canning some northern beans, some pinto beans, and some chickpeas, and also called garbanzo beans. And with some of the chickpeas, I'm going to be making a hummus starter. So this is an easy way for you to get like a shelf-stable hummus. Beginnings of it anyway, so that when you want hummus, you don't have to see if the hummus in your fridge is still good or if it's started to grow fancy cultures. It's a nice way to just get something easy for you to add to your lunches. I'm going to be using some leftover meat from the past couple of nights. We had some ribs and some tenderloin left over from the last couple of nights, so we'll be doing some pork and beans, just plain pork and beans, kind of like you could add it to a soup or something. And I hope that you enjoy this little bit of rebel canning. I had a friend come over and she did some with me. So some of the beans are hers, but we used 2 canners, so we got a nice big load. So come along and I'll show you how we do it. Let's start by getting our canners ready. On the right, I have a Miro from, I think it's 1983. And on the left, I have a Presto 23 quart, which is newer. I think it's probably about 5 years old if I remember right. So they each take 3 quarts of water, and your canner may be different. Make sure you check the manual. And if you're unfamiliar with pressure canning, check one of my earlier videos on pressure canning meat. It'll give you more directions. I'm going to go ahead and get the bottom rack fitted into each canner, and I will be double stacking, so I want to make sure I have 2 extra racks for this, and they're just set aside for now. The difference between the lids for each canner: this is the newer lid. You can see it has a nice good seal. You want to make sure you have a good seal on your pressure canner. It has this little pressure button, and this is the weight, and it has a gauge as well. Now on my other one, this is the weight. It has 3 different settings, 5, 10, and 15, and we will use the 10 pound weight on it. Underneath here is where you get the seal put in, and now I want to show you right here. That's just like that other little button on the newer one. It seals up like that, but it's just in a different location. So let's get a good rubber gasket in there. This one I had to buy new because the old one was probably original to it. You're going to need beans. I've got different varieties, and I have some leftover meat that I'm going to be adding to some of my beans. Spices like garlic powder, onion powder, hot pepper, cumin, and canning and pickling salt. Although you could use regular salt, it just sometimes makes it cloudy. And good snacks. On every bag of beans, you'll see that it says, "This is an agricultural product." That means there might be dirt on it. So rinse off your beans. You don't want to can it with muddy water. I save the beans that are floating. They're not bad. If they were just the shells, I might let them scoop off. Okay, now we're going to fill up our jar with beans. And by fill up, I mean I've got quart jars. I'm putting just under a cup of beans in here. Whatever size jar you have, you want it 1/4 of the way full. And I'm going a little bit scant because I'm going to be putting some meat in these as well. We're going to do all the jars. In these jars, I've got a handful of chopped up meat. And now I'm going to be adding 1/2 teaspoon of my canning salt. And then I'm going to be putting in water up to the neck of the jar. I'm placing a new lid that I got from Dollar Tree on here. I do reuse my lids. If you want more info on that, feel free to look at an earlier canning video. And now we're doing some seasoned beans. These are not going to have any meat in them, but they'll be kind of a taco seasoning flavored. So half a teaspoon of salt. I'm going to do some garlic powder now, about half a teaspoon. I'm going to do a quarter teaspoon of onion powder. I just used my half teaspoon and fill it halfway. And a quarter teaspoon of cumin. And I only have crushed red peppers. I don't have chili powder. I would use either one, a quarter teaspoon of either one. Now we'll go ahead and fill it up to the neck with water, just like the other beans were. And there. I'll put lids on just like I did with my other beans with the meat in it. And now we're going to be making our hummus starter. I have half-pint jars, so I'm going to use a quarter cup of rinsed chickpeas, some lemon pepper. Now if you have just fresh lemon, you could also squeeze some just fresh lemon in it. That would be fine. It gives it a tanginess. A little bit of ground cumin. This is working out to be about 1/8 of a teaspoon of each of these spices. Garlic powder. And some salt. You're not going to be adding any sesame to this. You'll be adding that when you make it later. Oil doesn't can very well if you can get away with canning without oil. It does make for better seals. I'm going to fill it up to the bottom of my little jar funnel. So where the neck would be. And I'll show you where that is. There we go. And then lids. Stack them in the canner. We've got them double stacked. Quarts on the bottom, half pints on the top. Get the lid on. Turn it on. Once it steams, we're going to vent for 10 minutes. After venting for 10 minutes, add your weights. These are two different styles. The one on the right is a jiggler style. All right, they're up to pressure. And now we get to start our timer. Because we have quarts in there, we're going to be doing 90 minutes. With the magic of time lapse, 1.5 hours has been accomplished. We're going to just turn off the burners. Remember, we do not mess with the lids yet. Just turn off the burners and walk away. Once they've completely lost pressure, you can remove the weights and open up the lids. And I just like to crack them a little bit so that they can vent some more of their steam. You do it with both styles of canner pretty much the same way. Be very careful not to give yourself a too hot steam facial. And just prop them and let them cool a little bit more. Use your jar lifter, not your hands, unless you've got a hot pad or hands of steel. And carefully remove the jars without turning them all sideways to a nice thick towel. You don't want them to get thermal shock and get too cold too fast. That's just not good for anybody. And here we go, all canned up and looking beautiful. We ended up with 14 quarts and 15 half pints. I had forgotten to count before I stuck them in the canner, so I was kind of unsure. I'm like, did I do 16 half pints or well? So 3 of the quarts are going back to my friend. She brought over some jars so she could practice with me. There they go, they're popping. And so I'm not going to hold it out on the cute little hot pad like I normally do for the picture, because as you can see, they are still kind of boiling away. You can see them moving around in there. These are fresh out of the canner. But these are my little hummus starters. And what you're going to do is you're going to take these chickpeas, and you can reserve the liquid in case you need it, but just put it in a little blender with a little bit of either sesame oil or tahini and olive oil, and blitz it until it's the texture that you like. If you like spicy hummus or roasted red pepper hummus or any of the other things, go ahead and add that flavor to it either before or after canning. It won't change the canning time. You can add little chunks of roasted red pepper. Be mindful that they will be blended in, so they won't be like little cute chunks for you to dip in. But yeah, this will make it easy for lunches or even single servings. For my family, I have 5 kids, so I would probably need a couple of these in order to make enough for everybody to have enough to dip. But even just using 2 is great. So I'm looking forward to using the pork and beans that are kind of hanging out in the back there. And I have a jar of just plain old chickpeas there. And that's great to add to like a white chicken chili or pretty much anything. Italian bean soup. And I still have bags and bags full of beans to can. So what's great is that beans and meat are the same timing for canning. 75 minutes for pints, 90 minutes for quarts, and of course, if you are mixing smaller with larger ones, you still can for the larger time. So if I had a couple packs of hamburger or something, or chicken in my fridge that really needed to be canned, but it wasn't enough to fill up a canner, you can do up a couple jars of beans real quick and add it to the canner, and then you'll have a nice full canner load, so you're not really wasting the energy that it uses to can up all of the meat. And you can also mix them together and make like the little pork and beans. All right, guys, happy canning. Let me know what you'd like me to can next. I've had some requests and I'm working on them. Gotta wait for a few things to be in season, but I'm real glad to see that this channel is kind of starting to grow a little bit. So recommend me to friends. And if you were lost at any point during this, go back. I've got a video on, it's like a half-hour video, I think, and it's on pressure canning meat. And that gives you a real good rundown of pressure canning in general, with the added benefit of showing you how to pressure can meat. So, all right, God bless you all, and I hope that you have a lovely day and enjoy listening to all those musical pings, and can't wait to start to eat these in the winter. Bye, guys.